You remember how high school feels like a small town where every slight gets magnified. The hallways are gossip highways, and a broken heart can feel like it's printed on the front page. I was young then, maybe too young to know how to hurt and how to heal. I dated a popular guy, the kind who wore the team jacket like armor and whose laugh filled the gym. Everyone knew his name. I thought I knew him too. Being with him felt like being part of something big and safe. I didn't see the cracks until they were impossible to ignore. It wasn't one moment that changed everything. It was a slow, uncomfortable accumulation of glances, whispered jokes, and messages that appeared and disappeared when I came around. Then the rumor mill did what it does best. It told me the truth I'd been trying to avoid. He'd been with several girls at school. One of them was his stepsister. I remember reading that and feeling like someone had taken the floor out from under me. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation. Not only had he been unfaithful, but the betrayal was threaded through the same small world where my name meant something. I felt exposed and small in a universe that suddenly seemed very loud. At first, I tried to talk to him. I wanted answers, maybe apologies. He shrugged it off with that easy charm and those half-truths that make you doubt your own certainty. It wasn't like that, he said. Or worse, you're overreacting. Those words felt like salt on an open wound. I begged for honesty and got indifference. That's when something shifted inside me, and not some theatrical transformation into a villain, but a quiet, cold decision that I wouldn't let him walk away with my dignity still attached to his pride. This is where teenagers make mistakes, where the line between righteous anger and regret can blur. One night after the home game noise had faded and the glow of the stadium lights had gone dull, I walked out to his truck. I won't give you a play-by-play, because that's not what this is about. What matters is that I acted on the hot, raw sting of betrayal. I keyed his truck from bumper to bumper, an ugly, childish thing, yes, and as I did it, the adrenaline and fury felt strangely cleansing. It was like carving out a piece of the humiliation and holding it up to the light. I left the truck with its new scars and walked away feeling for the first time since I found out not quite hollow. In the days after, the talk at school changed tone. People noticed the truck. People noticed him noticing the truck. The coach asked questions. He swore someone had done it while he was at practice. The stepsister looked away. His friends shifted in the cafeteria. There were rumors about enemies and jealous exes. I watched the ripple of my action, and mixed feelings came. A small, satisfying sense that he could no longer glide through school untouched, but also a deeper, darker recognition that I'd crossed a line I couldn't easily uncross. The satisfaction wasn't clean. It came tangled with shame. Time is a funny teacher. It softens the edges you thought would always cut. At first, I convinced myself I'd done it for justice, for the publicness of his humiliation to match the publicness of his cheating. But later, I realized how much of it was about me trying to be seen. In a place where everyone watched, I wanted my pain to be visible enough that someone, maybe even him, would know the cost. What I didn't expect was how the act would look in retrospect: petty, impulsive, something that belonged to the worst version of my teenage self. He apologized in fits and starts after that. The apology was never exactly the right thing. He said the words people say to put the past in a nice little box. I am sorry you felt that way. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was stupid. Those phrases sounded hollow against the echo of scraped paint. I wanted a real apology, one that owned the damage and promised change. He never really gave it. Instead, there was the awkwardness that sits like saturated cloth between two people who used to be close. The team still cheered for him on Fridays. People still expected him to be who he had always been. Meanwhile, I kept my distance and tried to learn how to move forward without letting that wound dictate who I would become. The next few months were lessons in curiosity about myself. I learned how anger can be a fast teacher and how the silence that follows an impulsive act is a long, echoing tutor. I spoke less, listened more, and tried to find healthier ways to be seen. I threw myself into art class, into after-school shifts at the coffee shop, and into late-night study sessions with friends who felt less performative and more real. I learned the value of boundaries, not the kind that keep people out, but the kind that keep you from becoming a reflection of someone else's cruelty. Looking back, there's a complicated moral I carry. I don't glorify the vandalism. I don't tell others to follow that path. What I do say is that betrayal feels like a physical force. It rearranges your body and mind, and sometimes you react in ways you later regret. My act of keying the truck gave me a release, but it also taught me the price of letting anger have the last word. It taught me that revenge might feel like power in the moment, but it rarely helps you build the life you want. I wanted him to feel small, and for a while he did. But I also hurt myself a little when I stooped to match him. Years later, when I tell this story, I tell it as a caution and a confession. People change. Some learn from their mistakes, others don't. I don't know if he ever felt the kind of regret that turned into better choices. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. What I do know is that I walked out of that season of my life with a new definition of strength. One that wasn't about clever punishments, but about choosing how I wanted to move through the world. I learned to forgive in the practical sense, to let the past sit in its own place and not let it run the script of my future. If this story punches a hole in someone's chest, it's because we all have that raw, youthful ache where we want to make things even. But the healing work, the real part, is learning to be the person who doesn't answer cruelty with cruelty. I still remember the scrape of metal on metal, the flashing dart of headlights as he drove away that night, and the quiet after I walked home. Those images are part of me, but they don't define me. They're a chapter where I learned, painfully, that justice feels different when it's measured against the life you hope to build, not the wound you want to scrape open. So if you're listening and you've been hurt, know this. Small acts can feel huge, and the urge to return pain with pain is human. But there's another path, quieter, harder, and more lasting. It's the path of change that doesn't need an audience, of repair that starts from within, and of learning to be seen without needing the world to break for you. That's where the real power lives, and I promise you, it's worth the wait.